Hey everyone, this is Sharayu, a person who will bombard you with as many book recommendations as possible in upcoming year. So happy new year to you all, and I wish you are all set with your new year resolution. For me, I have already added around 1 or 2 books in my TBR on Goodreads, and that's a TBR 2024 for me. And I had already started with this non-fiction book in 2023, which I carried forward to 2024. My speed of reading non-fiction is equivalent to that of a turtle. So today I'm going to talk about this book called Deep Work by Cal Newport, this one. So this video, I'm yet to read it, okay? I haven't actually finished it. I have read it like somewhere till 50% or something, but I couldn't stop myself from making the video on this book because I find this book quite engaging and quite useful. So I believe that you should be starting your 2024 with this book, and this video will be divided into the 4 parts. First part, why you should start your year with this book. Why specifically this book? The second will be which another book I can draw parallel with while reading this. Third, lesson learned and implemented. And fourth, who will benefit most from this book. So first point, why in the world would you read this particular book and not any other popular book like Alchemist or anything by Dale Carnegie? Answer is very simple, because this is the need of an hour. I'm a 90s kid, I'm a millennial. I have seen internet and non-internet era. So trust me when I say this, that we spend about minimum 50% of our time on internet. We spend it virtually. We exist over internet. We exist over internet more than we do in our homes, which in turn leaves us all distracted and thoughts all scattered in our brains. As 2024 is approaching, we need to address this as a problem. We need to acknowledge this as a problem. It's an issue that we are having with our attention span, and we need more focused efforts to generate an outcome which will be meaningful, which will be significant. Most of us can't even focus for more than 30 seconds. Now that's the span of an average Insta reel, and it's hampering our productivity. We are not able to generate the 100% of a great product or output. We are generating a mediocre, shallow product because the efforts that we are putting into something, to achieve something, are not up to the mark. Enters the deep work. This book will convince you why deep work is important, and that's actually firstly very important to understand. This book will convince you, no matter what you say or no matter what you hear people say about technology and gadgets, the output that we are generating, the final output or the value that we are generating, it is coming from our brains. Everything starts here. So to create something extraordinary and unique, our brain has to have the capability to focus and stay focused for a longer time. Author here gives amazing, great examples of these great authors and entrepreneurs, which include J.K. Rowling, which includes Bill Gates. He gives an example how J.K. Rowling was not at all active on social media when she was writing her last 2 books, and what sort of results that dedication gave to her, that deep work gave to her. Also, Bill Gates has a cabin into the forest somewhere secluded. Despite of being able to get that much of focus or that much of a secluded place in his own cabin, right? He must have a private cabin. He can ask people not to disturb him, but yet he has a cabin in the forest to stay focused, and he calls it thinking. He takes sort of a off vacation sort of thing just to go there and think. Along with that, he also gives the definition of deep work, and he also mentions how deep work is rare as well as it's meaningful. So these things will surely convince you to cultivate this habit of working deep, to cultivate this habit of being focused on a single thing and being free from distractions. I'm pretty sure once you read this book, you'll be convinced that deep work stays somewhere at top. People who have the ability to work deep, or who have the ability to focus more, they are already they have achieved good things and they are quite satisfied. When we say that deep work is meaningful, it simply means that it gives you the satisfaction of work, which is, I think, the most important thing when you are working on anything. The other books that I mentioned, right, those are sort of motivational, of course impactful, but motivational, and those will give you the motivation to work on yourself, to improvise yourself, all those things. But this book is special because it will give you the techniques along with so many additional concepts. Concepts are really interesting and they are defined in an interesting manner in this. Concepts like shallow work, deep work, bimodal philosophy of deep work scheduling, then rhythmic philosophy of deep work scheduling. There's something as journalist philosophy of deep work scheduling. So these concepts are like options that are provided by the author. Whichever suits you, pick it up and cultivate. Second point was, which is the other book in which I can draw parallel with, which is the other book which is quite similar to this book, or this discusses the concepts which are similar to the book that we are currently talking about, deep work. The other book that I have somewhat similar experience with is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Okay, that is also one of my favorite book when it comes to non-fiction, because that also gives you the techniques, and that also talks about cultivating the habits. It gives you techniques like habit stacking. It talks about new concepts like creating the identity. So I find these two books quite similar. So if you are planning to read Atomic Habits, I would recommend that also to you, even before reading Deep Work. If you have not yet read the Atomic Habits, I think you are missing on a very great thing into the non-fiction world of books. So make sure to go through Atomic Habits as well. Great thing about this book is that it nowhere mentions you to stop your work entirely, whatever you do entirely. It considers the difficulty of some jobs where shallow work is valued more over deep work, or answering emails is considered more important than the actual work. So it surely agrees with some of the points that we face day-to-day life. That makes this particular book quite practical. Author in this book says that you should be keeping a particular set time aside for the shallow work. For example, answering emails, attending those meetings, replying to those Teams messages, or creating some sample documents. So for this kind of work where you don't have to use focused efforts, keep your time aside and quickly finish it, and then remaining of the time use it for the learning activities, for the work, to cultivate the deep work habits. We can even take an example of teaching job, where responsibilities of a teacher anywhere include teaching, of course, then creating the catalogs, taking the attendance, making sure people are attending the classes, then connecting with parents, attending gatherings, and checking those assignments, checking the homeworks. So when you actually look at it, teaching is the work where focused efforts are needed, learning is needed. Other things we can keep in the shallow work sort of a stack. And when we do that, for shallow work, teacher can actually decide either I can work on these things like in a monthly manner or in a bi-weekly manner, and remaining of the days I'll simply use to cultivate my deep work capability, to make my learning activity more fun. So in that way you can think about your own jobs too. Third point is things learned and implemented. The very important thing so far in this book that I have learned is deep work is meaningful. It's going to give me job satisfaction if I end my day with getting the proper result, which is significant, which is meaningful to me, which makes things easier for my team. Then I will be satisfied and I'll sleep good. So basically that's what I have learned so far. And the implemented thing is I started implementing these things after reading this book, that when I'm working, I'm a software developer, let's say I'm programming something or I'm working on a particular idea or a solution. What I'll do is I keep my phone on silent, I keep it in the drawer of my desk, and I won't look at it until I satisfactorily finish whatever task I have at my hand. The another thing that I have cultivated is I do not look at the clock when I'm working, because if I look at the clock, I'm going to remember something else to do, which again acts like a distraction. So I try as best as possible to keep away from the distractions when I'm working on things that matter to me. There's another amazing thing that has happened to me recently after starting to implement this kind of philosophies from the deep work in my life, is that I have started to understand multitasking is a myth. I do not multitask. I don't listen to the music when I'm working. I hardly talk to other people when I'm working. So if I'm working, I am working one thing at a time. So that's the implementation, and that's the gist of so far whichever I have read from this book, I have implemented in my life, and I'm seeing the results. So that's why I was so set on recommending this book to you guys. The fourth and the final point that we were going to discuss is who will benefit from the deep work. So if you are into the profession where learning is the essential, which is almost any profession nowadays, and if you want to see yourself loving your job after few years, even in future you want to see yourself thinking about your job and feeling satisfied and happy that I worked there and I have achieved these things, be it very small, it doesn't have to be rocket science. If you want to see yourself like that, this book is for you. So whichever profession requires, I think author calls it a profession where knowledge is needed, a knowledge profession. I would say a profession where learning is needed. So if you are if you need to learn and now you're seeing yourself struggling with this with the issue of focusing, you're not able to focus on a single thing for a while, so I think Deep Work is the best book you can go about. You can read it and let me know in the comment section how did you find my recommendation. Once I read this, I will definitely post a review, a detailed review on Instagram, so make sure to follow me there as well. Thank you so much for watching it till the end. Have a great day ahead. Subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.